Last week I promised that I was going to give you a personal story about why I wrote the 2017 Glowing Soul Guide for the New Year. My name is Shani and I founded Embrace Your Humanity. It's a center for personal and professional development. And the reasons I founded Embrace Your Humanity are the same reasons I wrote the Glowing Soul Guide for the New Year. When I was a kid, I felt like an alien. So do you remember, did you ever see those medicine commercials, like for cold medicine, and they talk about medicine head, and the person's head turns into a balloon and then floats away? Well, medicine isn't what gave me that experience. Childhood did. And we had in our family this thing called the paddle, and it was passed from generation to generation, and the paddle was used for discipline. The thing was, small children were hit with hands, and I remember the grown-ups complaining about how their hands would burn from giving spankings. And so when we were deemed old enough, the paddle became the tool of choice because it didn't hurt the grown-ups anymore to dole out the punishment. So the awesome thing about the paddle, well, are manyfold, but the paddle, the first time it was used on any particular child, that child had to autograph the paddle. So the first time it was used on me, my name was scrawled there next to my mother's name and my aunt's name and my brother's name and all of the various people who had been beaten by this tool. I remember getting beaten on a daily basis. And I remember being told, this hurts me more than it hurts you. And I'm only doing this because I love you. And I remember thinking, even as a little girl, that this isn't love. How can this be love? And of course I would cry when I got spanked with the paddle. And then I'd be told, if you don't stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm really stubborn, and so of course, you know, I would probably cry louder on purpose, just because I'm stubborn like that. So I would get another beating so that I would have something officially to cry about. Well, when I still didn't be quiet, the duct tape would come out, and you know, sinuses swollen from crying, I would get a big fat piece of duct tape across my mouth to make me shut up. If I continued to make noise, I would get another piece of duct tape across my nose and around my hands so that I couldn't peel it away. And like the medicine head in the commercial, it wouldn't be too long before I would just float away. And I would think really hard in those moments. And I remember thinking, all I ever wanted from the time I was tiny was to be a mom. I wanted kids. I wanted babies. And so I remember thinking in these moments how sad it was going to be that I couldn't love my kids as much as my family loved me because I didn't want to hit them. And poof, then I would float away, and at some point later I would wake up to the duct tape being ripped off of my face. Well, I grew up and I never felt like I belonged. And I didn't feel like my experience of what I was told love was matched my inner experience. And so I remember as I grew up and I had my own children, I just adored them. And at every age they were at, I would have flashbacks and nightmares of the things that happened to me at those ages. I knew I needed a way to heal myself. I wanted better for my kids. And I didn't know how, and I didn't know what to do. I remember watching them play on the floor together one day and realizing I was just so overwhelmed with gratitude and love for these amazing little beings of light. And I remember in the middle of that gratitude and joy having the epiphany, oh my God, I'm teaching them how to be a woman and what to expect from a woman. And their dad is teaching them how to be a man and what to expect from a man. And together we're teaching them how to have relationships. And oh my God, something has to change, because I don't want them to ever feel the way that I feel. I don't want them to ever tolerate what is less than amazing for them. And so I vowed to myself in that moment that I was going to find my way out of this hole that I hadn't even really understood existed, because I didn't really understand that there was another way. I hoped there was, but I hadn't seen it personally. And so I said, not only am I going to get myself out of this, but if and when I do, if I can come to a place where I truly feel empowered and joyful, I'm going to figure out what I did, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to help other people, because certainly there must be other people that feel like me. I'm going to help them get out of that hole. And so the Glowing Soul Guide is it's the culmination of the tools that I used to begin to heal my life. Now, what I did is I bumbled through. I didn't have a roadmap. I didn't have a guide. I didn't have an example even of someone who was doing life really well and was happy and joyful. So I made a lot of mistakes. Like, I thought that I had to go back into every memory and every trauma and open it up and look at it and redeem it somehow. I didn't know how. I had ideas about forgiveness and what that meant, and that it was something that I could just poof do, which also didn't turn out to be true. And so I did a lot of things that were extremely traumatic, because I ended up reliving sexual abuse and physical abuse and emotional abuse and verbal abuse and you name it. And I was living it. I was reliving it. Ultimately, that made me spiral to the worst place that I've ever been in my entire life, emotionally, mentally, psychologically. And it was from that point of change or die that I finally discovered I didn't have to go keep reliving those things until they didn't hurt anymore. That in fact, the answers that I was looking for about how these things affected my life existed in this very moment of my life. All I had to do was look around and see, what does my life look like and how do I feel in it, in order to find the answers that I was looking for and to find what needed to change to match the life that I desired, instead of the life that I just allowed myself to be swept into because I didn't know any different. So you don't have to have been abused in order to get an incredible life-changing value out of the Glowing Soul Guide. It's just what brought me to this place of needing this guide. There's no wrong place to start with this guide, and the better your life is compared to that, suicidal low that I was at when I started my healing journey, the faster and more efficient this work will be for you. If you have a good life, your life can get great. And if you have a not so good life, your life can get good, and then your life can get great, and then your life can get even greater than that. So I'm really excited to share with you my new book. It's a journal workbook. It is a workshop on paper. The 2017 Glowing Soul Guide for the New Year. It's available December 1st at embraceyourhumanity.com. And right now we're running a sweepstakes. You can go put your name in, also at embraceyourhumanity.com, to win a free copy of the book and a free session with me. And, life can be really, really different than it is right now, whatever right now looks like. And, past traumas, some of them will really get over, and they'll feel like someone else's story. And some of them happened, so early and so deep that there might always be a seed that we can dig up of that trauma. And that's okay. We can learn that it's not our fault, and that the things that were done to us do not get to define who we are right now today, unless we allow it, unless we keep nurturing that idea of powerlessness and boundarylessness and low self-esteem. You can take your life back. Wherever your life is right now, you can gain the self-empowerment and the greater dream for a greater life right now from wherever you're starting. Grab a copy of the Glowing Soul Guide and let you change your life. Join me next week, and I'm going to do another video, and it is not going to be a personal story, but it's going to have some really great stuff in it that I can't think of right now, and I will see you then.